Hello and welcome to Bible Study with Alice, and today we're on day 10, Esther 10 of our daily Esther reading. We're reading from the ESV translation, but you're more than welcome to join us from a different translation. As you can see, we are on chapter 10. These videos are filmed in real time. Today's date is the 15th of May 25 and it's a Thursday. You can find the previous 9 chapters in the playlist below. There is a disclaimer as usual, and that is one, these videos are unedited, and also I probably stumble on my wording and also mispronounce the words. I do apologise in advance. Let's get started. The greatness of Mordecai. King Ahasuerus imposed tax on the land and on the coastland of the sea, and all the acts of his power and might, and the full account of the high honour of Mordecai to which the king advanced him, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the king of Media and Persia? For Mordecai the Jew was second in rank to King Ahasuerus, and he was great among the Jews and popular with the multitude of his brothers, for he sought the welfare of his people and spoke peace to all his people. So that was actually quite a short chapter. So it's obviously quite a simple and simple way of explaining it is, I'll just go in again. So King Ahasuerus imposed tax on the land and the coastland of the sea, and all the acts of his power and might, and the full account of the high honour of Mordecai, to which the king advanced him, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the king of Media and Persia? So basically, with that bit alone, King Ahasuerus imposed tax on the land and the coastland and the sea, and the acts of his power and might. So obviously everything's now been kind of ironed out, basically, so that he is now like ironing out all the issues, and he puts Mordecai as his second in command, which was mentioned, which I mentioned in chapter 9, is that he's been obviously now it's come to a thing where he's officially had advanced him. And it's everything that's been discussed has been written in the book of the Chronicles. And Mordecai, which is the Jew, so he's a Jewish individual, he's obviously now second rank to King Ahasuerus, and he's the most greatest person among all the Jewish people, and he's very popular with everybody, you know, and he's basically, why they have said that is because obviously he's sought out their welfare and will be, you know, speak to his people with peace and, you know, with great honour and all that. So chapter 10 is kind of a small chapter, but it's just basically explaining what's now come about, is that King Ahasuerus has now ironed out all the issues. Mordecai is now second in command. All the Jewish people love him because he cares about them and he speaks to them with peace and kindness. So everything is just worked out in their favour, basically. So now let's just quickly run over the book again. I kind of do this in two parts. So obviously, when we come to an end of a book, I flip through the pages that we covered. But also I'm going to go over the story, quickly run through the story again. I mean, every day so far I've obviously explained the story, but I can explain it now in full detail. I guess you could say it like that. If you've been following every day, you kind of know where we got to. So now I'm going to go back over the story quickly. So in chapter 1, the king has a banquet. Queen Vashti refuses to do what she's told. In chapter 2, the king now wants to seek out a new queen, but he wants all the young virgins in his area to come to him, and everybody's basically been summoned to a young woman who is a virgin. Now, with Esther, Esther is a Jewish individual. Her Jewish name is Hadassah, which is a meaning for myrtle tree, and it's a Hebrew name. Esther changes her name from Hadassah to Esther because she wants to conceal that she's a Jewish individual. So her mom and dad dies when she was a young child, and her cousin Mordecai is now her guardian. He's basically the one who takes care of her. So he allows her to go, and she does. She gets chosen to be queen because of her beauty and everything, and she's just basically what the king's looking for. But he doesn't let, or does she, neither Esther or Mordecai let on to anybody who each other are. But what Mordecai does is he hangs around outside the castle to just keep an eye on her and to speak to her as and when he can and as and when he's allowed to. But generally speaking, the king does not know who he is. Nobody knows who he is. But what happens is Mordecai discovers a plot to have the king killed. But it doesn't always work out like that, does it? So in chapter 3, Haman is now really cross and angry with Mordecai because Mordecai won't bow down to the king. Whenever the king's in presence of anybody, you're supposed to bow down, but Mordecai won't. Haman's quite cross. Haman is second in command. He feels that, being second in command, that you should do as you're told, and obviously Mordecai wasn't. So he's quite cross and angry. He's going to have Mordecai killed. But not just Mordecai, because Haman discovers that Mordecai is a Jewish individual and he does not like Jewish people, so he wants every single Jewish person killed, which is pretty lovely. So in chapter 4, obviously it's been discovered now that Haman wants Mordecai killed and all the Jewish people killed. So Mordecai goes to Esther and says to Esther, look, this is going to happen. Can you do something about it? Can you go to the king and speak to him and get him to stop it? But Esther is very concerned because she knows that you don't disturb the king unless the king wants to be disturbed, unless the king invites you in. So she's very concerned, very apprehensive about this. So she's a bit like, oh, sort of thing, very worried, very, very concerned, very, very unsure of what's going to happen next. But she's willing to do it because she doesn't want her people killed. So she goes into, on chapter 5, she will now prepare a banquet for King Ahasuerus and for Haman, because obviously she respects Mordecai so much because he's her guardian. She respects him and cares about him and wants to do as she's told by him. So she's going to do what's been told by him. So she prepares this banquet to speak to the king, to tell him what's going on, but in front of Haman. So Haman does not know does not know what's going to happen because he does not know that Esther knows. So the king's like, but Esther gets the king drunk and fills him up with loads of food, so he's full of food and very drunk. And he obviously says to Esther, what is it that you want? Your request is my command, so what you want, I will give you. I will allow you to have what you want. So that's what happens. But she doesn't do it straight away because she's still a bit concerned, a bit apprehensive of what's going to happen. But at the bottom of 5, Haman plans to have Mordecai hung. So he creates a gallows. So he'll get him hung. But in chapter 6 now, Mordecai is being honoured by the king because the king's now discovered that he was, that Mordecai knew about this plot and wanted him stopped and all this and the other. So he's very much happy with him and honouring him for saving him, basically, from being killed. But Esther still needs to reveal this plot to the king that Haman's going to get all these people killed. So in chapter 7, at the start of chapter 7, that's what happens. She has a second day of her banquet, and she tells the king what's going on, because the king's still insistent that she tells him, so she does. And the king is very, very cross. He's fuming at this point. But Haman is a bit frightened. He's like, oh my gosh, now the truth has come out. You know, the truth does come out. Always does. So the truth obviously came out. And guess what? Haman gets killed. Because he's now been hung by the king. The king wants him hung, so that's what happens. He gets hung on the very same gallows that he created for Mordecai. So in chapter 8, Esther obviously did not want the Jewish people to be killed. So she basically goes to the king and says to the king, can we stop this? I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to continue on. So that's then what happens. The king basically, gets a letter sent out, a decree sent out to all the people in his kingdom that all the Jewish people aren't to be killed. And it's put everywhere, all in public places and everywhere. It's literally just sent everywhere. It's been sent and delivered on horses, so all his people will send it out to people. It gets sent out to everybody, and it's written in languages that everybody will be able to understand. But the problem is, even though he gets it stopped, the Jewish people are still quite cross and very, very angry that anybody would want them killed. So they go on a right massive tyrant of it all. So they then want to go and destroy their enemy, because now they want to kill everybody because of what's just come out, which is obviously very hard thought. It's very hard for your thought to process that Haman wanted Mordecai killed, who is a Jewish individual. It's just very hard to comprehend. It's very hard to comprehend that anybody would want that. But the thing is, though, in chapter 8, I just forgot to mention that also Esther reveals the true identity of Mordecai. So Mordecai is now, his identity is now revealed to the king. Everything has been revealed to the king. So the king doesn't want Jewish people killed, because he doesn't want his wife killed, but he doesn't want anybody killed now. He doesn't want any Jewish person killed. But so obviously when this decree came about, the Jewish people went absolutely crazy that anybody wanted them killed. So they literally killed 75,000 people, and 10 of them were the sons of Haman, because obviously they were part of the plot. So they were also killed. So at the end of chapter 9, Esther, Mordecai and the king has this festival set up, so they can have like this festival to celebrate, to take away the anguish, just to celebrate themselves, celebrate their identity, because they literally were going to be killed. To have their identity celebrated. And it was put into law at the end. It was like an authoritative, obviously the authority being the king, the queen, and Mordecai has it all set out so that this festive period will take place. And in 10, the king irons it all out, gets all sorted basically, and he puts Mordecai officially as his second in command. And all the Jewish people loved Mordecai, thought Mordecai was absolutely fantastic, because he cared about them, he saved them, and they got somebody like them in power to keep them safe and speak peace to them, and it's so wonderful. Basically, it's just absolutely wonderful. And obviously that comes to the end of the book of Esther. Now, in book of Esther, God was never actually mentioned directly. He was never mentioned in a direct context. As we discovered, he never was mentioned by name. But the thing is, though, even though he was not mentioned by name, Esther, Mordecai, and even the King Ashtoreth and the Jewish people eventually had faith in God, basically, that God was there. He was never mentioned, but they had faith, and that was what the main key theme during Book of Esther was. The key theme was faith, having faith that things will be sorted, that everything will get resolved in the end. Because Esther knew that as the person that can stop this would be her husband, King Ashtoreth. He was the one who can stop this from happening, and obviously he did stop it from happening because, you know, he put that into practice. You know, he put a decree out there to stop it. And yeah, the Jewish people got very angry and very cross with the situation, which rightfully so, in all fairness. But he got it sorted because he stopped it from happening, stopped it in their tracks in the end, and turned it into a good thing by having a party, getting a bit festive and a bit drunk and a bit merry and all that. You know, having that there, because, you know, that's what you need. You need happiness, considering you were going to be all killed. So that is what Book of Esther is all about. And, you know, it kind of spoke about how the king started off at a banquet, and it pretty much ended in the king having a new second in command, somebody who wasn't going to kill Jewish people. And we just got to understand that that's the key theme during Book of Esther is faith. Faith that everything will work out in the end. So, tomorrow, which is the 16th of May, we're going to be starting a new book. But before I do that, I'll write in here day 10, and it's the 15th of May 25. So we're going to be starting a new book. Now, I had in mind doing Joab, which is just this one here. But because they mentioned at the end in chapter 10 about the Chronicles, I thought it'd be quite good to go and miss out Joab and go to Chronicles. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to go to Chronicles 1 tomorrow. So we're going to be doing Chronicles 1, and we'll literally go all the way through to I can't even find it, to 2 Chronicles afterwards. So we'll literally be now into the Chronicles until the end, which goes into Ezra. So we'll be doing all of the Book of Chronicles. So we'll be doing the 2 Chronicles as of tomorrow. So we're going to be doing that as of tomorrow. So we're going to be spending the next couple of months on Chronicles. So yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow, is Chronicles. So thank you for watching. Please like my content, please subscribe to my channel, and please turn on the notification bell so you get notified of content like this that gets uploaded to the channel. Thank you and goodbye.